Today we're doing adoption stories, and we've got the Jennings in the house.
The conversation starts. I am so excited for the weekend. We got big things coming. You know, so before we started this foster journey,
Yes.
we had exchange students that would come into our home, and we had an exchange student named Mitchell, and he's been here all week. And it's kind of sad because we've had a really good time with him this week being here. And
I've enjoyed him being in the studio and hanging out.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful time. But it's winding down. Sunday he leaves back, so we have tonight. I'm sure after this we'll all go out to dinner and celebrate and stuff. And then we got tomorrow, and then he goes back to the Netherlands, and he is just one of ours. He has a great family in the Netherlands, but he also has become a part of our family, and he loves all of our kids, and we love him, and it's been really nice having him home this week. So, but I think it's going to be a good weekend because whenever Mitchell's around, we always have fun. So,
Well, good. He seems fun.
yeah, and you got to try some of these treats that he brings. He's waffle cookies with the caramel stuff, and unfortunately, now being vegan, I can't eat the stuff, but it's
So
really
I get to
good.
eat all of them.
Yeah, you can. Yeah,
Yep.
maybe we'll put it in the green room or your dressing room, and you can have them later. Or
Okay.
something.
Sounds good.
Courtney and I did a story last Friday. Did you see it on vaccinations?
Yes, I did.
You were out sick.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back from vacation, then he gets sick.
Yeah, for
So-
about almost half a week, it seems like. It was longer than that, though.
Right, and Courtney is missing you big time. She was talking about that the other day when we were shooting shows. But we did the show on vaccination, and again, last week it was the #1 story on
Right.
CNN. And so basically, what was it? A
Well,
guy...
it was a 30-year-old man now.
Mhm.
Went to the doctor, and then he asked his parents if he had ever had any kind of vaccination. Just went in as a normal checkup, I think.
Right?
And come to find out, he had never been vaccinated before.
Really?
Yeah.
And he had the measles.
Yeah, and then he wound up having to go to an institution or hospital.
Uh-huh.
And it said at times he felt like, he could barely even move. And
Yeah.
aches and pains constantly.
And not only that, but then you're kind of isolated as well.
Right.
And so you don't get a lot of company. And so it's got to be not only painful and hurtful and you're really sick, but then you really don't have the support that you
Yeah,
need.
well, not only that, but come to find out it's something that if you would have just had vaccinations throughout your life, then it may not have even came up.
Right. One time when right after I had colon cancer and then I had colon surgery,
Right.
I got what they call C. diff, and I was really sick. And not only was I really sick, but every time the nurses or doctors came in, they'd have to put on these alien suits from like top to bottom. And I'll tell you what, I felt like I was like a freak. You know what I mean? Or
Oh, I understand
nobody
that.
wanted to be around me. They were all afraid they were going to get sick and that type of thing. So today is one of my favorite days. Twice a month we do adoption stories, and you can hear adoption story. You hear it in the background there. I'm sure you guys can hear it,
Okay.
and that's good stuff. But we have
Those are the ones we like in our live studio.
Oh yeah, the babies when they're in our studio, we're always excited about that. But we have the Jennings family with us today. She has been fostering for over 20 years, 6 adoptions, and I love what she's going to share because so many times on these support groups, we hear all of the tragic stories of foster care,
Right.
so to speak, and how they got in trouble and they're doing this and they're doing that. And yes, that does happen. We have sometimes kids go to jail and stuff like that. But also, there's a lot of successful people that have made a difference, that are doing something with their lives and kind of spreading the good.
Right.
Do you know Merle Haggard? He's an old country singer.
Uh-huh.
Foster care. Kid Rock, foster care.
I've heard that before.
Eminem, foster care. Faith Hill, adopted, kinship placement. Serious, folks. And not only in the entertainment business, we got doctors, lawyers, dentists, all kinds of people, foster care, and they have really good stories. So we're excited to talk to the Jennings family right after this.
On Foster Life.
We'll be back.
Hi, I'm Mitchell. I'm from the Netherlands and we love foster care.
Welcome back to Foster Life. It's Friday.
Good old Friday.
I love Friday. Friday. Actually, I don't know why I love Friday. Because if you're the same as me, do you work outside of the home?
Yes.
Oh, you do? Mm-hmm. See, I don't work outside of the home except for at night. So I work here in the evening and I work home all day because I have 6 at home.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know why I get excited for Friday because that just means that I got 4 more to take care of all weekend. 4 more to cook for all weekend, 4 more. But I like spending time with my family, so maybe that's why I get excited for Fridays.
Well, I like Friday because it's the end of my work week.
Yeah, well,
Basically done with this, and then
it's,
I get to do whatever I want.
it's the start of my work week.
Yep.
But it all works out really good. Today we have Tina Jennings, is that right?
Yes.
On our show, and we're doing an adoption story, which I love, adoption stories. Did you know that our adoption stories are the most watched episodes that we have for Foster Life?
That does not surprise me.
Yeah, people love them and they like to hear the story. And I've never heard an adoption story that wasn't a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every adoption story, and I get to hear a lot of them, but they're always miracles. There's always something that was just like a miracle as to why they were there and everything. So how did you get started fostering?
Our
What was
first
the
big
thing?
question: how did you decide that you wanted to start fostering?
Well, we were pretty young and married, and my husband had a lot of health issues. So when we went to the doctor, they told us that we weren't going to be able to have kids, and we just decided that we'd go through the foster care system, and that's really what we did. Just thought we can build our family this way.
Did it take you both time to think about it, or was it just instantly, yeah, this is what we want to do?
It was pretty much an instant thing.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we both were teachers, so it was good to be able to help kids anyway.
Yes.
And I think it's just a natural step for us.
Yeah.
So did you at any point think about adopting outside of the United States?
We really did not.
So it was just kind of, this is what you knew that you wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
So back then, because that's been a while ago, you and I are the same age. So, so 20 years, 20 plus years.
20 plus years.
It's been a while
Yes.
ago. So she started fostering when she was 15, and she just went on from there. I'm trying to help you out here.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So
No,
that's
but
what
you were in your 20s.
I was.
When you start. So has that process changed a lot in the last 20 years, like as far as getting licensed and that kind of stuff?
Yes. Licensing, we were actually, this is going to do away with your 15 comment, but we were actually licensed when we didn't even go to class.
Oh, really?
Yes, we went to one class. We never went to another one after that. We had these kids put in our home, and that was that. They signed off on it. There was no STARS training.
Really?
Now, was it younger kids or was it the teenage?
We
that you started
we
with?
had a mixture. We had a teenage girl, 10-year-old girl, and a 1-year-old boy. That was
Wow.
our first family
Yeah.
before we finished training.
Were they a sibling group?
They were.
And did you adopt them?
No, we did not.
Oh.
They went home within 2 weeks.
Oh, really? So
Yes.
yeah, so it was a reunification. story.
Yes.
And we like those too.
Oh, yes.
For anybody that's out there watching. So then, once you started fostering,
hmm
what was your? Did you always just take all ages, or how did that work?
We did. We took all ages. We were so naive that we didn't even think about being choosy. We
Right.
just said, whatever you
Mhm.
bring to us, that's what we'll take. And that's what we did. And that's how we ended up with starting our family.
Okay, so you've adopted 6
Yes.
over the last 24 years.
Yes.
So tell me about your very first adoption. How did that come about?
Our first adoption came when our 3 little sons came to us.
Okay.
They were our second family, and they came with the idea that basically they were going to be terminating parental rights at some point in the future.
Oh, okay.
So that was kind of how we got started with them. It was a rough first year. Keep in mind, Mark and I had been married by ourselves for 7 years.
Uh-huh.
Our little family came for 2 weeks, and
Uh-huh.
then we were like, okay, they're gone. We'll have a break. And that break lasted a weekend, and then they called and said, here are these 3 boys, and it was something else.
Right. How old were they?
They were 3, 5, and 8.
Woo! That's a good way to get
That's
started.
a rowdy bunch right there.
Yeah.
They were. The 3-year-old cussed like a sailor,
Uh-huh.
and the
Rob's
5-year-old,
got stories like that.
yes, the 5-year-old was just off the walls,
Uh-huh.
and the 8-year-old just didn't speak.
Really?
The only time we heard him speak was to tell his brothers, don't like them. Just because they brought us chicken nuggets does not mean they are our mom and dad. Every night he would instruct them on how they needed to behave.
Right. So, with them, did you know pretty quickly that you guys were going to adopt them, or was it more of a process?
It was a process. I mean, Mark and I were in it from that in the beginning. We just
Mhm.
knew if they came available for adoption that we were going to adopt them because we just, like I said, we're very young and naive.
Right.
And God had a way of working that out. I really believe that because luckily we were young and naive and we might have said no to those 3 boys.
Right.
And they have been the biggest blessings in our lives.
Uh-huh.
But it took us 4.5 years to adopt the boys.
Right. But I think, kind of when I think about how we've gone through this, don't you think, yeah, we all are kind of naive when we start this.
Yes.
But on the other hand, I think for me, it doesn't matter if they have behaviors or they have whatever. You can fall in love with somebody no matter what they're,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so sometimes, even though there's things that go with it, even though there's a kid that's saying this is how you should act, then you go. So how long, like from the time that you got them till their adoption, approximately, how long did that process take?
It was 4.5 years.
4.5 years.
Yes. Took a long time. You've got to remember that was early on,
Right?
and Children's Division did not move as quickly. They didn't have the resources. I'm not even sure our kids had a guardian ad litem at that point.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there were a lot of things that were just missing from the system, and no one moved on it
Mhm.
for about 2.5 years. And then finally, we started pushing. I mean,
Yeah.
and said, hey, they haven't seen their parents. What can we do to make this more permanent situation for our boys?
Right. I know that our guardian ad litems,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if it even moves to that 3rd year, they're usually boom, boom, boom. We got to get on this. You got to get it done. This family's waited too long, so I can't imagine 4.5 years. Whew, that's a long time.
It was, but it was held up in Court of Appeals for a year.
So what do those kids do now?
One of my
Those 3,
boys do.
yeah.
My youngest son just graduated from college last year
Uh-huh.
in December, and he is a youth minister at On Branch Christian Church. He's getting ready to become a teacher. That's
Cool.
what he'll do in the fall.
We're going to meet him in just a little bit. He's
Yes.
going to be on
Yes,
today.
he's the one I fell in love with right away.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So what about the other 2?
My middle son, he is in prison right now,
Uh-huh.
and I mean, we're still very close, talk to him at least once a week, and he's doing as well as can be expected, but he just made some bad choices.
Yeah.
My oldest son is in his second year of medical school.
Second year of medical school.
Yeah.
So here's what I'm going to tell you, because we've thought about this. We have a kid that has severe reactive attachment disorder, and he's done some stuff.
Yes.
And Ethan and I, and I'm sure you and your husband had to come to the same agreement. So we had to decide early on, no matter what his life becomes, he's a part of our family. We're always going to love him. We're always going to support him.
Yes.
And we're always going to be there for him.
Absolutely.
And we've had this conversation, folks, that if the cards work in a way that he would be incarcerated, we're still going to visit him. We're still going to ride him. We're still going to be his family. We're not going to enable him.
Right.
But we're his family. And so sometimes that's how it goes. But then on the other hand, sometimes it goes the other direction.
Right.
Youth minister, how many years of medical school?
He's in his second.
Second year of medical school. I think that's all very, and sometimes, and the reason why I wanted to have you on the show, sometimes when we hear about the ones that get incarcerated, the ones that are in juvie, the ones that are struggling, and we don't hear about the other ones, and you never know. He might come out from prison, and I've seen awesome things happen there too. He might be your next pastor, or, you know, who knows what.
That's what we hope for.
You know, whatever his passion is. So, but the most important thing is that they remember that they have a family.
Yes.
And we might not agree with the choices that they've made, but we still love them and support them. Is that how you and your husband feel?
Absolutely. We knew early on because Randy also had, I believe, reactive attachment disorder and a host of other things, and we knew early on that there were going to be issues with him. But it's just something that, I mean, you have a sibling group of three, you've fallen in love with the three of them, and that is your commitment. Just as if you would biological children, we don't just write them off and say, oh. I mean, and I don't know that people always understand that that bond is so strong. You just can't quit loving a kid just because they make some bad choices.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Courtney, who's on Mondays, she's got a new show coming this year called RAD, My Rad Life. And it's about reactive attachment disorder. And it's interesting that you bring this up, but what she's trying to do is give you guys the tools and kind of load foster parents and adoptive parents so that they can understand and they can get them better help so that they can, you know, because things are changing and we get more science and we get more, and so that's what her job is to do on that show, is to give the tools that you folks need so that hopefully we can be better, you know, or not that we don't work hard, because we do, but we want to give the best information that we can so we can help them the best that we can.
And to be honest, I wouldn't want anybody else other than Courtney doing that show because she is very well qualified.
Oh yeah, and she's got her master's degree in this kind of stuff, so she knows her stuff, and I think it's going to be good. When we come back right after this, we are going to have your son. Which one?
The youngest one, Ryan.
Ryan is going to be joining us. Tell it a little bit about his story, and then we're going to get to those other three that you've adopted too right after this.
On Foster Life.
Fridays, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do.
I like Adoption Friday just because every adoption's a miracle.
Yes.
And I think that that's really, really cool. So this is your first, he was your first youngest.
He was my first youngest.
Okay.
He is my youngest son.
Yeah, oh, he is your
Yes, he
youngest
is
son.
my youngest son.
Okay, so we haven't got to the girls yet.
No.
Okay, so he's your youngest son,
Yes.
and he came to you at what age, 3?
3 years old.
Wow. So do you ever remember life without your mom and dad?
I remember like pictures and like certain just events, you know, if you play them on a loop, but it's not like I have a real clear recollection, just certain events and certain faces and people, so.
Right. And so what was foster, I mean, you obviously you came to them at a really young age, but how was life for you with your mom and dad growing up?
Well, I mean, I didn't really have anything to compare it to other than what we've been in before, but
Right.
it was, to me, it was just normal. You know,
Uh-huh.
I would forget. People, you know, they would start talking about things like, oh, my great-grandma was half Cherokee, and I would think to my grandparents, and of course my grandparents were my mom and my dad's parents, and I was like, Dad's parents are Native American, I think Mom's parents are Polish, and that makes me like, you know, I would be like, oh no, that doesn't make me. So for me it was pretty natural, and I know that there are a lot of people who have been through the foster care system, have been adopted, and struggle with issues of like identity and wanting to find their parents and
Mhm.
getting that closure. But for me, it was never really about that.
Right. So did you, so life was pretty normal and growing up. Did, like at school and things, okay, I just gotta say this. And this happened with me on the last family that we did. We did this boys' house and family adoption story a week ago. And the daughter and the mom, but you guys look, I mean, look at them. Do they not look alike?
We've heard that.
We've heard
Yeah.
that before.
Yeah.
And so do people, because my kids always laugh, because I resemble a lot 2 of our sons, and Ethan resembles 2 of our sons a lot. So our kids just bust out laughing, because people will come up in the grocery store, oh my gosh, you look just like your dad. And then we're just like, yeah, uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
So when you were growing up, did you tell people that you were adopted, or was it more just, this is my family?
It was more just, this is my family. Every once in a while, you know, the conversation would be struck up about adoption or about not knowing your parents, or hey, my dad wasn't around growing up, and then it would kind of, you know, light bulb moment, and it would be like, oh yeah, I am adopted.
Right.
And you know, that was a cool thing for me to get to talk to people about it, because a lot of kids that I spoke with and adults were surprised.
Uh-huh.
And you know, a lot of what I got through their faces, not so much in the words they said, was, but you're so normal.
Right.
And it was a great way to segue in and be like, well yeah, I'm normal.
Yeah.
Because my parents are normal, and you know, this is a normal thing to do, and I'm so blessed that it happened to me.
Right.
So in a way, sometimes I did, but most of the time it was just like, this is my family, and this is, for me, it felt like it had always been that way.
Right. So have you ever met your bio family?
Well, apart from the visits we had in the process when Mom and Dad were trying to adopt us, no.
Yeah.
So it's been about, it's been a lot of years, 22?
Yeah.
22 years.
Yeah, so you
Have your brothers reached out at all?
Yeah, my middle brother Randy, he has some sort of relationship with my biological mom. But I don't think, as brothers, I don't think any of us know who our dad was. So
Right.
the only person that we would have to reach out to would be some of our other brothers that weren't adopted with us, and then our biological mom. And my brother, like I said, has a relationship with her. I don't know what that really looks like, but myself and my oldest brother Ron, who's in med school, we never did.
Right.
I speak to his biological mom. I mean, I call her once in a while,
Uh-huh.
just because I feel like she deserves to know that her kids are doing okay, the ones that I have, and she really needs that peace, because she made some pretty bad choices, I think, when the boys were in her care. And so I've encouraged them to reach out, but not yet.
You and I are a lot the same because it's kind of like our kids. We at Christmas Eve, you know, I started thinking about my kids as bio, you know, and so I contacted them and got a hold of them, and I even took 3 of my kids to go see one, and that's just what we do, and you know, so I think you foster a lot like we do, but also I think that that's a choice, and we tell our kids that too. When you get older, if you want to find them, we are going to help you and we're going to support you in that journey. And if you don't want to do it, that's totally okay too, and we understand that. But I think what you do is a good thing because we do make poor choices in our life, and I think that sometimes it's okay to just say, hey, everything's good on this end, and
Exactly.
they turned out wonderful, and they're doing this and that, and that's a good thing as well. So a lot of times our kids get targeted, and so we try not to tell people that they're adopted or whatever, but sometimes people just think that, oh, he was a foster kid, so he's just automatically a bad egg. And I think that you know that that's not necessarily true, but how did the college thing come about?
Like as in terms of going to college for
Yeah, I mean, and the reason why I'm asking this, I sit in a lot of meetings, and the one thing that we really need to work on in foster care is getting foster kids to go to college and to complete college and to do that. So was that something that was inspired by your parents, or how did that kind of come about? And I think it's important for our viewers to know, because that is something we're going to be working on with legislation and all of that stuff to help kids make better choices after high school. So how'd that come about for you?
Well, I'd say it was like a twofold decision-making process. And on one hand, I had a really great advantage, and not only that I was adopted by great people, but I was adopted by 2 great people who had went through college.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of kids, for a long time I didn't understand this, but a lot of kids, you know, you come from a household where nobody's ever gone to college, and that can be intimidating. But for me, I was blessed enough that both of my parents went to college.
Right.
Not only they went to college, but they helped me with FAFSA, and they helped me with scholarships, and they pushed me in school.
I know that was tough for me. I was like, I don't even know how to do this stuff. Mom, Dad,
Right.
please help me out here.
Right, because nobody teaches you. And so if you didn't have parents that went to college, I could see how intimidating that would be.
Right.
And so that's kind of one half of the equation. And the other half of the equation was my older brother, Ron. And he was a rock star in school in a way that nobody thought he could be.
Right.
Because we came from a small town like Verona.
Uh-huh.
And by his senior year, he'd racked up thousands of dollars in scholarships. And he had a 4.0, and he was, you know, he's getting put in the newspaper for doing so well academically. And finally, he was admitted into Yale and did his undergraduate there. And for me...
Wait. Ron goes to Yale?
Ron attended Yale. He graduated from Yale.
Wow. Holy smokes.
He now goes to Rutgers for medical school, Rutgers, New Jersey.
Wow.
And so that's kind of what I thought. That was my reaction when he got it. I was like, well,
I just have to process this a little bit. They live in a time. How many people are in Verona?
600?
Yeah, there's like 600 people in this little tiny town. I've been through there a million times, and he went to Yale University. That's a pretty big achievement.
It was a big deal. Even for our school, it was a big deal. And he had, you know, I taught there. Keep this in mind, I taught in high school. And he basically was told by even a couple of the teachers. I mean, one took him out in the hall after they realized he had applied and said to him, "You understand, Ron, that you're not going to get in there, and I don't want you to be disappointed. And I feel like you and your mom are shooting a little bit high here." What they didn't understand is that Yale actually came after Ron. We started getting postcards from them, and I just told Ron, I said, "We are not paying that application fee. We cannot afford that. It's a long shot. Let's not do that." And then they finally sent us a postcard and said, "We're waiving your application fee." So I told Ron, I was like, go for it. Why not?
Yeah. What
So
do you have to
dream big.
lose?
What do we have to lose at this point?
Right.
And that's how it happened.
So Ron kind of was your mentor maybe, or you kind of looked up to him and saw the direction he was taking, you were thinking, hey, I could do that.
He was a trailblazer, and I thought, I might not go to Yale,
Right.
but I can do well in school because he had maintained a 4.0, and I can go to a college,
Right.
and probably a college of my choosing if I work hard enough.
Yep.
And so we had mom and dad on one side who were pushing me from all the ways from elementary school. You have to keep those grades up. You have to keep those grades up. And then
let me interrupt just a minute here.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, what Ryan is not telling you is he was also above a 4.0 student.
Wow.
Oh, God. Now we get the rest of the story.
Ryan is also not telling you that both he and Ron were National Coca-Cola Scholars, which is pretty rare. There's only like 2 per state.
Oh, cool.
And in our little school, there are the only 2 National Coca-Cola Scholars. We've only had like 4 in our school.
Oh, wow.
So-
That's awesome.
He did quite well for himself.
So
He's
I
figuring
would,
it out.
I would guess in your home life, there was a pretty, the education was talked about a lot, and that we focused on education a lot, that it was one of our priorities.
It
I'm
was a
not
little
saying that
bit
you were like over, but I would say that. Oh, well, maybe.
I'm not saying no.
It was a little bit, if you come home with an A-, you don't drive.
Oh,
And that kind of kept my boys going.
wow.
Now, did you ever get discouraged at all? Like, oh, I can't fill my brother's shoes, or
Well, there was a little bit of that growing up, yeah, because you come through and they're like, well, Ron went to Yale, like you got to go there. And then I got into my senior year of high school, and I applied to some really big name schools. And I got through like 3 stages in the Harvard interview application, and then they turned me down. And I just wanted that so bad to rub in my brother's face that I went to Harvard and Yale, but it didn't happen. But yeah, there was a little bit of filling his shoes, but I kind of came into my own in my senior year, and I realized that God was calling me to Bible college, and that was not wrong.
So where'd you go to Bible college at?
I went to Ozark Christian College.
Oh,
in
cool.
Joplin.
Awesome. And I think that that's another good point that I want to make to our young people and parents that are out there is if we want our kids to go to college, we have to let them find their niche.
Absolutely.
And find where they're the best fit, because the only way they're going to be successful in school, I think, is if they're at the place that they're supposed to be. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so that's a good thing. And for my kids, they're probably looking at you going, "Oh my gosh, she said if you didn't have A." Our rule at our house is if you have anything below a B, you're not going to be driving. You're not going to be doing the extra stuff. So, hey, man, wow, maybe we better up the ante a little bit. When we come back right after this, we're going to talk more about adoptions, and we're going to start getting into the other 3.
Okay.
All right.
Foster TV is looking for 12 nonprofits in the United States that serve or work with foster and adoptive youth. Send us a short story or email about how you support the community.
So send your story today.
Welcome back to Foster Life on Friday. We're sitting here doing adoptions with the Jennings family. Now, you're not related to old Waylon, are you?
No.
Waylon Jennings?
No, I do have a Waylon Jennings, but he is my grandson.
Oh, she has a Waylon Jennings in her family.
Yes.
Yeah, that's always good. So, once you got the boys, what was the next step? I mean, did you just foster, or how was it?
No, just getting the boys was enough for us for a while.
3 boys.
3 boys who were holy terrors.
Oh,
they're prime, ready to
Yeah.
terrorize anything.
ready to go.
Yeah, that was all Mark and I could handle for a while. So it took a while.
Except for Ryan, he was just sweet.
Oh no, he was
Why?
not sweet. I just
Oh.
fell in love with him first. I bought him with a Happy Meal.
Oh, okay.
He decided I was fine after I bought him that first chicken
Oh,
nugget.
yeah. And our kids would probably think so too. So,
Yes.
what'd you do after you adopted them?
So after we adopted them, we ended up concentrating on moving to where we wanted to kind of settle down and teach.
Uh huh.
And then we ended up saying, okay, I think we need to expand our family. We'd like to have a girl.
Oh.
Yes. So I got on the internet
Uh huh.
and went to the adoption site for Missouri and started looking for a little girl.
Yes, you can do that.
You can. And I went on there and found the little girl we wanted to adopt, and the next thing I knew, we were in the middle of a home study, and she came to our house and stayed.
Wow.
Yes.
And if you're looking, you're thinking, well, what is that? If you're already licensed as a foster parent and you go to those sites, you can get more information about those children. But if you're just thinking about licensing or fostering, you can actually go on those sites, and it gives you limited information.
Limited
And you
information.
can see that as well. But that's a great opportunity if you're just thinking about adopting.
Mhm.
So you found
Found
a
Cammy.
girl.
Yes.
Okay.
Cammy, our oldest daughter. We found her. We adopted her within the year
Uh-huh.
because her parental rights had already been terminated, so a very quick process, much different than the boys.
Right?
And she came to live with us, and then we kind of rested again. We had some kids and off and on through this year, obviously,
Right.
because we fostered 39. So we had kids who came and
Would you
stayed.
would you do a more like emergency placements, or what were you doing?
Yeah, they ended up being very short-term placements. They
Right.
told us that they would be longer, but they just never ended up being longer.
Right.
So we did have a couple that stayed quite a while, but
How did it feel going from 3 boys to having a girl in the house?
oh, I was fine with that. It was kind of nice for me.
Right.
The boys, they didn't adjust quite as well as maybe had been expected.
So what were the boys' age when you brought a girl into the home?
Let's see, Ron was probably 14,
Uh-huh.
and that would have made Randy 12 and Ryan right around 9, 10, somewhere in there.
So who's this one?
So this is my youngest daughter thus far, Shelby. She's
Shelby.
what we call our surprise adoption.
Okay, so how was she a surprise?
Well, Mark and I were almost done. We thought, okay, we're ready to take a break from this. Our boys are growing
Sure.
up. We've got Cammy.
We've been there.
Yes. Thought we were ready to take a break, about ready to hand in our license, and who calls but those good old workers at Children's Division.
Right?
And they said, Tina, could you please just take these 2 kids for a couple of weeks?
Uh-huh.
So I asked the boys and said, look, they have this 5-year-old boy and this little baby. Could we take them? And Cammy and the boys were like, oh yeah, let's do it. So we did. And we kind of got back into fostering a little more seriously then. I mean, we'd taken Mark and a couple of other kids, and then they were kind of more accustomed to the idea by the time they came. So Shelby came with her brother.
Uh-huh.
Her brother had a different dad, and his dad ended up taking him.
Oh, okay, so there was reunification.
Right.
And he was a
Different dad.
non-offending parent, or did he have to
Correct.
work to get him back?
No, he was non-offending parent.
Uh-huh.
Got him
Cool.
right away. So after that, of course, I got to be. By now, I've matured as a foster parent.
Right?
I don't see that it's always foster parents against bio parents at
Right.
this point.
No, it's a team.
No, it's a team. Shelby's parents were very kind people. They were very loving. They loved her. They also knew they couldn't care for her. So
Right.
at the end of it, they came to the point where they asked me, would you adopt her if we cannot get her back? And of course, I was thrilled to adopt her by that point, because I'll tell you, she had my heart after night 2.
And how old were you when you came there?
6 months?
Oh, you were tiny. Oh, we like those ones. I have a couple like that came when they were real little babies.
Yeah.
And I love my older ones too, but when they come as a baby and you feed them at night and
Oh, yeah.
you know, bond and all of that stuff.
Mhm.
So, I have a couple of questions. Do you ever in contact with your brother at all?
No.
No?
There was a point when I was for a little bit, and then I stopped
Uh-huh.
because I have 3 older brothers, and that's
Okay.
enough for me.
Right.
Right there. It's definitely enough.
You didn't need
So-
another one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And then you said the mom and you had worked together. Do you still? I'm guessing. I think I already know the answer, folks. But I bet, do you still correspond with the mom?
Oh yeah, we are, of course, Facebook makes everything so much easier
Right.
now. So there's a lot of Facebook communication. Shelby is her friend on Facebook.
Uh-huh.
So she gets to watch Shelby grow up. For a while, she came to church with us for a few Sundays,
Uh-huh.
but that kind of fizzled out because she's making some choices still that maybe, are questionable. But she's a good person, and she's a very sweet lady.
So you've never known anybody but your mom and dad?
Yep.
And,
Was she hard on you on grades, just like the brothers?
No, I'm harder because now I homeschool and I'm her teacher.
oh. Kyle,
You got the short end of the stick.
my son,
Yeah.
my son Kyle's in the studio today,
Uh-huh.
and I homeschool him, and he'll tell you the same thing. I'm much harder on him at home than I am when he's at school as well. Our expectations are a little bit, and we push them because we want you guys to do well. So, do you think you'll go to college?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah. So, what are you thinking? How old are you right now?
I'm 15.
15. So, have you even started thinking that direction or kind of exploring? So, what are you thinking?
I'm just wanting to go to college and wherever they'll have me.
Wherever they'll have you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, you've got plenty of time to figure out what you want to do. You've got the general education classes that you have to get through first.
Right. Do you have any idea right now? And I know it always changes, but any idea right now what you might want to do when you get older?
I definitely want to work in foster care.
Oh.
Definitely.
I want you to work in foster care too.
Like doing something there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just depends.
We've tossed around a lot of ideas that she might want to do a group home, and
Yeah.
hopefully by that time I'll be set where I can help her and partner with her if she still wants to do that.
Yeah.
She is only 15, so things will change.
Oh yeah, things will change, but it's neat that children that we adopt,
Mm-hmm.
some of them want to be involved, and I have a son like that too that talks about, I want to go work in a group home, or maybe I want to do this or that, and I think that that's an awesome thing as well, because we need good workers. And I don't know if you're like me, I've not had any bad workers except for a licensing worker that was, and most of our workers are like our friends, and we still, even after kids are adopted, we still have a relationship with them.
Yeah.
And the only way we're going to make changes in this system, I think, is if we build a good community of people that are together and on the same page, and that is what's going to make those changes.
Exactly, and that is the difference from when I first started. There was no team per se.
Right.
It was just you had your worker. We
Right.
saw her maybe, I think with the boys, in the whole 4.5 years it took them to get adopted, I saw a worker 3 times.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it
Not
was,
once a month.
no. It was probably more than that, because when we moved to Greene County, and that process in Greene County was a little more thorough in doing that. But since I've fostered later in life, I have not had a bad caseworker. They have been wonderful. I get really upset when I read, that a lot of people are having terrible experiences, because that has not been my experience at all.
That has not been our experience,
No.
and
They're
all
great
we've always
caseworkers.
had. Yeah, but also I think part of it is the area that we live in.
Yes.
And so I'm just going to give a little shout out. I tell Garrett, who's the circuit manager all
Yes.
the time, I say, you're really blessed. You have a really good team of
Yes.
people that work for you. And so I think a little bit is like the leadership and who's supervising and leading and managing and stuff like that too. But we have good relationships in that area.
That 39th circuit is pretty
Oh,
amazing.
yeah,
they
they
really are.
Yeah, they're really a good circuit. So, you got her 6 months old. How long did it take for that adoption to take place?
Honestly, I think we were done within 18 months, completely done.
Yeah, because
Everything.
had TPR already happened, or you still had to go through
We
that?
had to go through TPR, and parents did not sign, even though they had asked us to adopt Shelby, but they were very uninvolved at that point.
Uh-huh,
And so, they kind of pulled themselves back, I feel like, so that we could go ahead and proceed.
right. And was Dad with Mom?
Dad and Mom were still together at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So they ended up signing.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you have a wonderful family.
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
You like them?
Yeah.
Even though you homeschool?
Yeah, I like that a lot.
Oh, so do you guys have a co-op or are you involved in anything like that? You just do your homeschooling?
I
And...
mean, Monette's got a small class that meets once a week for PE. All the homeschoolers meet, so there's a little bit of a social connection there, but
Right.
no co-op.
Yeah. Cool. So where do you get your peer time at?
Homeschool PE.
Homeschool PE
Yeah.
Charter.
And church.
and church.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you go to Elm Branch too?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, so that's a good place to go. And I think you know the youth pastor there.
I do.
Yeah. So is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's a mix.
It's a mix. So, my question for you is, because I think about this a lot in our home, because we have the little ones. I mean, we have the ones that are under, so under 6 years old, I have 4.
Mm-hmm.
And my youngest is 7 months old. And then I have a 2-year-old. And then I have two 3-year-olds, a 4-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So I have all these, and then I look at the bigger ones, and I guess I'm always wondering, are we doing a good job mixing those together? Because you and I aren't spring chickens anymore.
No, that's for sure.
And I want to make sure that when I'm gone,
Right?
that my family kind of takes care of each other,
Mm-hmm.
because they're gonna have ups and downs. So what's that been like having 3 older brothers? I mean, how do they treat you? How do you interact with them? What do you do with them? That type of stuff.
Well, my brother Ron lives really far away, so that's been really hard on me. Me and him are super close.
Uh-huh.
But me and Ryan, too, are
Pretty
pretty
close.
close. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, does Ron come back and see the family often, or?
Not
Not as often now. He's pretty
Okay.
busy now, but we'll see him in just a couple of weeks.
He calls you stressing out about school and everything,
Yes.
doesn't he?
I
Yes.
actually just tried to call him whenever I was out in the car and he didn't answer me. So I left him a couple of messages.
He's studying for his first boards, so.
Yeah.
Have fun.
It has not been, I mean, I understand what you're worried about, and I'm really worried about this, especially we're getting ready to adopt a little girl that we've had since birth. She's
Right.
1.5 now,
Uh-huh.
and I worried a lot thinking, how is this connection going to be formed? But, I mean, again, I'm really proud of my boys because
Right.
they especially appreciate that, and our daughter does too. Our daughter keeps in contact with our family, but our boys are really good about calling. I mean, Ron FaceTimes Shelby at least twice a week.
Good.
He FaceTimes the baby, who
Mhm.
he doesn't know except for being home twice in her entire lifespan so far. But he FaceTimes her in the mornings and talks to her.
That's
And
awesome.
Ryan and Alicia, I mean, my son that's married, his wife and he are quite gracious to babysit for us. So it's like having great built-in babysitters.
Right.
And so I feel like, honestly, we kept that connection.
That's good because, and I guess we worry about it more. I have some that are special needs.
Yeah.
I have one that had a major brain injury, and we don't know how his life is going to be because he's still young, and so we're still developing, and we gotta. And then we have one of our babies. They were just telling us is low functioning and that kind of stuff. And then I have an older kid that has some issues as well, and I guess I'm hoping that we do a good enough job so that my kids always are kind of there for them.
Right.
My biggest concern is I don't want them to just be put in a
Oh,
institution and just kind
Yes.
of left. So, so you know, as a parent, what I'm talking about. I
Absolutely,
want to
indeed.
build that foundation so that.
yes.
But I always say, my daughter and my son, they are 6 months apart,
Mhm.
and my son is the one that has the brain injury, and then my daughter, she is really smart, and she teaches him a lot of stuff, and she's 6 months younger, and when she starts doing it, then he'll start doing it. And I always hope that they always because right now you'll say, Rose, who's your best friend? And she'll say, oh, Matron's my best friend. And I say, Matron, who's your best friend? Rose. And they play together and stuff. And so I tell Ethan, I say, well, maybe when they're old and stuff, Rose and her husband will just kind of take her brother in,
Exactly.
and they'll have that relationship. But that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
And that's why I wanted to know how that is, because that's something I think about a lot, is I want my little kids to love their brothers as
Mhm.
much as we love their brothers.
Exactly. It's just really, I think building that relationship at the very beginning and encouraging, and I think making family decisions together plays a huge part in that. So we've always tried to make sure that everybody's on board in our family.
Yep.
Not the boys, they don't have as much say so now that they're all out of the house, but still, we don't take anybody in without Shelby and Grace, my
Right.
granddaughter who also lives with us. We do not take anyone else in without talking it through as a family with my husband and the two girls to say, hey, this is what we want to do.
So when you're said and done with your granddaughter, you'll have 7.
Yes,
Wow.
yes. Well, I'm not sure that's said and done yet, but as of right now, the outcome looks like 7 that we'll
Yeah.
adopt.
I said that we were done a while ago,
Mm-hmm.
and since then I got my son Grayson, I got my son Matron, and then we just took their sister in August. So, and it's the same thing. You find this as foster parents. If you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and you're doing the very best job you can, and none of us are perfect. Me and Ian are not perfect in any way, shape, or form. But if you're doing that, those workers keep calling you,
They
and
do.
you say, we're done, and they, well, could you just for a week or two, well, okay, and that happened to us this past summer. They just needed a home for a kid, and he came, and he's moved on now, but it was the
Right.
same type of thing. We were full, and the worker said, I know he's gonna really do well in your home, and so.
You just
We're
find your
suckers.
family expanding and expanding. Like our grandson ended up going into foster care. Well, our grandson has 3 other siblings.
Uh-huh.
So guess where they all came?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't really know those little siblings before they came to live with us. I just knew my grandson, but guess what now?
Yep.
They went home. They went home after 9 months because their parents did amazing. But now I have 4 little grandkids, getting ready to be 5 on Monday.
Is the parents still doing
The
amazing?
parents are still doing amazing.
Are they live around here?
They do.
We need to get them on this show. We just had Patty on about a week ago,
Mhm.
and she was highly addicted to meth, and she worked her buns off
Yes.
to get her kids back, and she graduated from college.
Yep.
Right after she got her kids back and stuff, and now she's a mom with 2 disabled children,
Mhm.
and then she's got a job,
Mhm.
full-time job, and works, and she's amazing. So we'll have to talk more after this. It's been really good getting to know your story, and I would say the main reason why I wanted the Jennings family on here is it's so important that we don't label our kids or automatically think that they're damaged goods just because they come from this system. The other thing that's really important that I want to stress again, I will never forget, I'm going to say it right here, the little old hag at the grocery store that told me that I couldn't love my kids like she loves her kids
Yep.
because I adopted foster kids.
I remember that story.
I love my kids. Do you
I-
love your kids?
Oh my gosh, but I've been told the same thing.
Yeah.
It makes your blood boil.
Oh yeah, it does because it's not true.
No.
My daughter, when she hurts, I hurt. My sons, when they hurt, I hurt. You know, when my son, my 21-year-old, when he had his first car accident,
Mm-hmm.
and I went out there. Well, number one, I was scared to death because I'm a parent.
Yeah.
And those feelings that I had when he had this car accident a month ago, you wouldn't have if I didn't have the same feelings as a parent who birthed them. You see what I'm saying? And but then also, he's been called everything in the book at school: retarded, stupid, moron. And when he got in the car, and he started calling himself those things. And I mean, the tears just started coming down my face, and I'm yelling at him, don't ever call yourself stupid, retarded, moron, you know, all of those things. But that's what people don't understand, is that when you adopt, and if you're thinking about adopting, you can love those kids. They're yours, period. Every single one of my birth certificates, and I'm sure your birth certificates say that you're the mom, your husband's the dad. They're our kids, and they're not adopted. And I don't label them adopted. They're my children,
Exactly.
and they're your children.
And I think all my kids, I think every single one of them, regardless of the situation they're in, whether it's been a good one or a bad one in terms of the choices they made in life, I think each one of them would tell you, we know our parents love us like we have always belonged to them.
Right. And sometimes they go away,
And they're back.
and they come back.
They do.
And that's always amazing as well. It's been so good having you on today and hearing your story, and I wish the best for all of your family.
Thank you guys. Thank you
And
so
when
much.
that little baby, because she's here in the studio, when her adoption's done, we need to have you back and for an update. You know how they always have
Yes.
the updates? You need to
Yes.
come back for an update.
Or
'Cause-
maybe even have a celebration here for the adoption.
Right, because
Awesome.
the boys' houses
Yes.
that we had, they're in the middle of adoption,
Right.
so we need to have that. We need to have their update. We need to get everybody's up down.
That'd be
done.
great.
Yeah, we'll be back right after this on Foster Life. Welcome back to Foster Life. This has been fun talking to the Jennings
Oh
family.
yeah, I enjoyed every bit of it.
Yeah, so most people don't know. I'm going to tell a little story on you. Tristan comes from a town. How many people are in Aurora?
Back in the day, I said like 14,000. I think it's more around like 7,000.
Okay, so there's like 7,000 people in Aurora, and most people don't know Tristan's brother goes to Penn State and plays football.
Pitt State.
Pitt State.
Yep.
And plays football.
Mm-hmm.
Not Penn State.
No.
Pitt State. Oh, well, I thought it was Penn State. But things happen in these small towns, you know, where you're at and stuff. And I've enjoyed just hearing their whole story and what they've done. And it's a good story of, you know, we're all human. And sometimes it works out. Sometimes we got to grow some more. Sometimes we got to learn a little bit. But we don't ever give up on our family.
Right.
Because that's not what a family does. A family always sticks together through the thick and thin. And I might not like my boys some days, but I love them always.
Let me tell you, me and my brothers, we fought all the time.
Uh-huh.
And then there was other times where we were just right there together and surviving through the worst times together and making peace with it. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I like, because your brothers, you know how I know that you have good support? Is because they're always liking our stuff and thumbs up and heart and things. And so I know that you guys have that bond as well. And it's such an amazing thing. This summer, it's going to be Rob and Tristan Foster Life. We're coming to 15 cities. If you'd like us to come to your city and do a workshop where you can get some training hours. We always need training hours. In Missouri, it's 30 hours every 2 years. And get some training hours. You can email me at producer.fostertv@gmail.com and we'll get on our bus and we'll come to your city and do a workshop. If you are connected with bio parents, we also want to do a 2-hour workshop in 15 cities for bio parents where they can come and learn how to stay on track and how to work their plan and to do things like that. And Tristan and I would love to meet you and be a part of that as well. Producer.fostertv@gmail.com. We're also this summer on our tour doing 3 fundraisers. Those fundraisers are designed to give back to the foster community for things like car seats, clothes, school supplies, and whatnot. And we want to give back nationwide. A matter of fact, we have just kicked off a campaign to support 12 nonprofit agencies that support foster care across the United States. If you want to be a part of those fundraisers, we'll be doing one in Nashville, Tennessee on Music Row, my old stomping grounds, and I know a lot of people in Nashville. You never know who is going to show up and who's going to play and do some good stuff there. And it's Nashville. And then we'll also be in Loveland, Colorado, where I grew up and lived for 30 years.
The old stomping grounds.
The old stomping grounds. And I know we did a fundraiser in Loveland at the Budweiser Event Center a couple of years ago, Ethan and I. I had teachers show up. I had friends from school show up. I had family show up. I had people from everywhere. And the security told me, we do a lot of concerts, and we've never had this many people come by and drop off gifts, drop off cards, drop off food, all this stuff. And so it's always fun to be in my hometown, and I love seeing all my old teachers and friends and all of that stuff. And we'll be doing a fundraiser there this summer. And then lastly, we'll be stopping off in Florida, where it's nice and warm and beachy, and doing another fundraiser there. And all of that is to give back to the foster community. If you are thinking about adopting, it doesn't ever hurt, and even fostering, just to get the information. You can go on and Google family services in your area or in your county and give them a call, shoot them an email, and just learn about what it takes. And you don't have to be like Tina and I and take in Minnie. You might be that empty nester who's missing your college kid something crazy, and you just want to take one kid in. And you want to be a mentor to one. And that's okay. You know, if we had 1,000 families that took one kid, we would decrease our number in foster care by 1,000 kids that would have a home. There's 439,000 kids in care in the United States. And as we've talked before, the number in residential is staggering. And the only way we're going to change that is by opening our doors and opening our homes. So if you're thinking about fostering or adopting, just get information. Just take that first step. I love what Boys Housing said. I was doing my, what are those New Year's resolutions?
Yep.
And I was looking at my list, and I thought all of these are pretty self-centered, and I want to do one thing that gives back this year. And she said foster care popped in my head.
Isn't that incredible?
Yeah, that's a pretty cool thing. And look at, she will tell you that she hit the lottery. She feels like she hit the lottery when she got her daughter. But it was all because she took the initiative to Google foster care Missouri, and it came up. Till next time on Foster Life, we'll be here Monday, and guess what? You guys are finally going to reunite.
Finally.
Courtney will be here. Tristan will be here, and I think I'm going to be here. And we're going to
hope so.
Yeah, we're going to have a great show right here, only on Foster Life. See you next week. Bye.